I think Twins fans are so starved for content this offseason they won't care. But both of the major league pieces that they picked up in this trade are sinker slider guys, and I think that's interesting. The sinker just posted its first positive league wide value in like a billion years. And so that's one thing I'm interested in and kind of monitoring. But let's talk about Topa a little bit. 30. I says 34. That's not right though.
He is turning 33 on March 7th.
Okay. Turning 33, 6'4", 200, not a free agent until 2027. So he's in his first year of ARB. Another sinker slider guy, sinker 45% slider 30, also has a cutter and a changeup. Had a really great year for Seattle last season. Expected ERA of 2.93. 22% K rate. That's much more healthy than DeSclafani's 6.5 walk rate. That's really strong too. And so it feels like let's make a huge leap in assumption, which is probably extremely foolish, and assume that Toba's going to like roughly replicate what he did last season. This is a guy you're sliding into what part of the bullpen, Jeremy? Where do you think he's going?
I think you have Duran at the top, right?
Yep.
You have Jax and Stewart, and then you have Topa. And I think that's for as fickle as relief pitchers are.
Yeah.
If that's who you get out of this deal, I also think you have Jorge Alcala, who could be back to what he was, and then you have your lefties, right? So if he's a sixth inning guy, I think he can be a really good sixth inning guy if he, like you said, can replicate this, because he's 2 years removed from throwing 3 innings as a Brewer and giving up 11 earned runs. So there's some things there, but after what Theo says, I like what you told me before we started, because that's spot on.
I mean, it is a better acquisition than any of their other bullpen pieces so far this offseason, and it's no disrespect to Josh Stoumount, but Stoumount's coming back from an injury that's incredibly hard to overcome. So Topa brings that optimistic outlook. I think if we're looking at just upside, and we can look at the much prettier Baseball Savant page than
there we go.
Sclafani's, I think there's a real possibility he could be better than Brock Stewart this season if we're only looking at upside.
Woo.
That is quite the claim, but he had a lot more of a workload in the majors this season compared to the majority of Brock Stewart's career. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. But like even having that conversation that we're having of like the names that you're comparing him to, like feels like a big positive for the Twins. No, right? Like their recent bullpen acquisitions, like Stoumount is a good example. It's like, how many guys have they claimed off waivers and or signed to minor league deals with an invite to camp? Hobie Minor and a gazillion other guys this season who you're hoping like one guy maybe makes it through that kind of gauntlet and comes out as a major league bullpen contributor. So the fact that we're like pitching a guy now into a essentially like the Emilio Pagan role.
Yeah. The Jorge Lopez and who they traded Jorge Lopez for, and like you said, Emilio Pagan, who everyone hated, you've just upgraded that spot as a throw-in, right? How fast? How hard does he throw? What's his? Can you find that for me?
Like 95, right?
Scroll on down. 95 on the sinker. I will try to highlight that if you can see it.
That's gonna be great.
It'll work.
And then his slider is much slower at 82. Changeup 86.
And I'm guessing that slider is not going to be 82 when the Twins start working with them. I'm guessing it's going to be heavier, harder than that.
Yeah.
Right, because you're looking at about 10. That's your ideal, right? About 10 miles an hour difference.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pick that up and all of a sudden he becomes, if he's throwing 95, 85, and you know he's 32, so he's not exactly going to give you something that he hasn't. But if he's your sixth inning guy and he is what he was last year, certainly there could be regression, because we saw an all-star closer become a terrible relief pitcher and then get shipped off for nothing. But it's one more dart that you could throw at the dartboard, and a dart that was really good last year.